Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. That means we're presented today by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. If you're in South Louisiana, it's going to get a little nasty weather-wise outside. I know a lot of schools shutting down today. I just got an email that somebody's got to go pick up my kid because they're shutting things down. So if you're out and about, be very, very careful. If you're stuck in the workplace or you at home for the day and locking us in, we appreciate that for sure. But stay safe out there. Louisiana looks like some rain, some wind headed our direction. But we have a lot to get to indoors over the next 2 hours. LSU beat Texas A&M on Saturday. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime's with us at 1:30 to talk about the national championship game. LSU got a pretty sizable quarterback commit since we last spoke with you. I want to preview the college football playoff championship game. Blake Baker's been hired as LSU's defensive coordinator, so lots and lots and lots to get to over the next 2 hours. I want to start with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints finished the season on a real high note yesterday, absolutely whitewashing rival Atlanta, a 31-0 second half that propelled the Saints to a 48-17 win. Saints win 4 of 5 to finish things up and really closed solidly. But unfortunately, they did not get any of the help that they needed. Carolina just didn't score a point. And then you had losses by the Bears and the Cardinals. So Saints on the outside looking in at the playoffs. I think I want to talk about the game first and then some big picture things. But as far as the game goes, just a dominant second half by New Orleans. Defensively, offensively, everything clicked in the second half. It was a bumpy start. You let the Falcons go right down and get points. Then you answer, but Bijan Robinson comes back. And to be honest, I think a lot of us that were watching looked at that and go, Tyron may have lost a step. Because he had the angle, and I know Robinson's an explosive rookie, and Tyron's a decade into his NFL career, but your safety needs to make that play, and he wasn't able to do it. But after that, the Saints defense settled in, and they were really, really, once again, efficient, if at not times explosive on offense. Derek Carr finished the game 22 for 28, 264 yards and 4 touchdowns with a rating of 145. You look at what he did down the stretch, and it was really solid quarterback play. If you go through his last 4 games, Derek Carr threw 15 touchdowns and 1 interception. 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he was excellent late in the season. The only hiccup you had there was the Rams game. Yes, Carolina stinks. Yes, the Giants stink. Nice win at Tampa and a nice win over Atlanta. But it was just too little, too late. And when you look at this season, I think 2 games come to the forefront for me. It's a loss in Week 3 against Green Bay where you led 17-0 and couldn't finish the deal really before Jordan Love got moving. And you look at a loss in Houston where you lose by a score there, you missed some field goals and had some red zone woes, and that really, really hurts you. You could point to the Atlanta game as well in late November where you were just atrocious in the red zone and lost that game by 2 scores. But you just kind of ended up where we thought the Saints would end up, which is a mediocre football team that finished the game over 500, right there in the mix for an atrocious division, and didn't quite do enough. And that stings because, honestly, that's maybe the worst place to be in the NFL. You'd either rather be where Washington is or Chicago is right now, where you have some hope with draft picks and young quarterbacks, or you'd rather be where Dallas or San Francisco is, where you're just one of the best teams in the league, primed for a Super Bowl run. Instead, the Saints are not in the playoffs, are not picking early in the draft, and just kind of feel like you're in purgatory. So you can look at it 2 ways. The way that I kind of look at it, which is what I laid out right there, or you can say, you know what? Derek Carr got healthy at the end. Dennis Allen's still a really good defensive coach. The defense played well. We got a quarterback that can function at a high level when his ribs aren't shot or his shoulder doesn't hurt. Let's just run this thing back. And I think there are probably a lot of people on both sides of that. I think there are probably more that are a little disenchanted with things, but I think there are probably a sizable portion of the Saints fan base that go, hey, that was a pretty good finish. Right into next year. It's that example I always give is Tennessee football under like Butch Jones. Because they would always get beat up in September and October. They'd lose to Florida. They'd lose to Georgia. They'd lose to Alabama. But at the end of the schedule, they got Missouri. They got Kentucky. They got Vanderbilt. They went to some middling bowl game and beat Pitt or NC State. And you go, well, you won 4 of your last 5. Got a good recruiting class coming in. I think they're turning a corner. When in reality, no, you just lost to the good teams and beat the bad teams late. And I would point to game against the Rams where you lose. Game against Detroit, you lose. Game against Jacksonville, who was good at that point in the season, and you lose. Your wins were against the Falcons, Tampa, the Giants, the Panthers, the Bears, Indianapolis, New England, the Titans. You played, in my opinion, the easiest schedule in the National Football League. One of the easiest schedules ever in this era of NFL football. And the result was not very good. That's the way I see it. So it appears Dennis Allen will be back, and I think that's a mistake. And it appears that they will just continue to full steam ahead and try to go for it again next year and restructure everybody's contract. It just feels to me like this organization is staring at reality and saying, you know what? You're not going to pry the Breeze Payton era from my cold, dead hands. We will do it with Dennis Allen. We will do it with Pete Carmichael. We will do it with Michael Thomas and Ryan Ramczyk and Cam Jordan and Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara. These are our guys. And I realize that moving some of those guys is difficult and in some cases virtually impossible. I know that they restructured Marshawn Lattimore's deal to maybe open the ability to trade him to get some more assets because you feel like you're pretty good and young out there on the perimeter. We'll see what Ryan Ramczyk's future holds if he can play again. He's got to go get that knee looked at. But there are a lot of teams in the NFL that now have this disaster of a season behind them and can look towards the draft and a new quarterback and a new coach and new hope. There are a lot of teams in the NFL that are primed to try to go win a Super Bowl right now, and the Saints are somewhere in the middle of that. And it's good that it's not a miserable 3-14, I guess, because that's not very fun to sit through. The Saints made it interesting all the way up to the last week of the season. But it's bad that you're not competitive with the best teams in the sport. So we'll see what the future holds if they make a move today on the offensive side of the ball, what they can do in the NFL draft. That calendar never stops. Like, it's always NFL season in one way or another. But the Saints won't be participating in the playoffs. The other talking point from this game was the late touchdown that the Saints scored, and Arthur Smith in the final hours of his tenure in Atlanta getting into it with Dennis Allen at midfield at the postgame handshake. And here's the way I see this. Scoring a touchdown there, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Going from 41-17 to 48-17 is not that big a deal on either side. If you're the Falcons, you got your butt kicked in the second half, the season's over, your coach is getting fired, whatever. If you're the Saints, it's not like you're trying to get style points for the BCS. Like, you can score a touchdown if that's what you want to do, but you can't do it from the victory formation. That's a little unsportsmanlike, in my opinion. Now, I'm not the biggest sportsmanship guy. I'm not the biggest, you can't run the score up or the unwritten rules and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a football game. Go out there and play 48-17, 41-17, whatever. The manner in which the Saints did it, I don't understand. And then you heard Jameis Winston post-game say we wanted to get Jamal a touchdown. And it was my decision. They called victory. I said, no, we're getting this guy a touchdown. Cesar Ruiz backed him up. And they made that decision as a team independent of the coaches. And my question would be, why? If this was Jamal Williams' last NFL game ever, and you wanted to get him in the end zone, I get it. If Jamal Williams had some sort of Damar Hamlin situation where he had a catastrophic medical situation and had returned to the NFL and wanted to get into the end zone as some sort of a statement and a return, none of that. He's an NFL back in the middle of his career who missed a lot of time due to injury. What does one touchdown do? I don't really understand it. And this is coming from a guy, and trust me, I always feel like I need to tell you, I'm not trying to compare myself to an NFL player. Trust me. Like, obviously, we understand that. But I did. I knew that my eighth grade, I was going to play football in high school. And I was quarterback on the eighth grade team, and I told the coach in the fourth quarter we were winning, and I was like, I want to score a touchdown. It's the last time I'm ever going to play in a game. I'd like to score a touchdown. So we ran like 7 quarterback runs in a row. That's how long it took me to get in the end zone. So, like, I actually had this done for me. Now, we didn't do it out of victory formation on some trick play, but, like, I've been there. But it was my last game. I wanted to score a touchdown. This guy, this is not Jamal Williams' last game. I know he missed a lot of time, but I just don't get it. And it's for some reason, NFL guys gravitate towards Jameis Winston. I just think his decision-making and the delivery of his thoughts is just so odd. Did you see the post-game interview that he gave? I just felt it was so odd. And he was so, like, serious. And I did not understand the thought process there with that touchdown. And I thought the manner in which the Saints scored it was a tough look. And you know that Arthur Smith knows that his hours are numbered at that point, and he's ticked off about that. I honestly don't have too much concern for Arthur Smith losing his job. When dad owns FedEx, you usually do okay in the unemployment market. So I think he'll be just fine. But he was hot, and I kind of get it based on the victory formation part of it. If the Saints just line up in the eye and toss it left and power in for a touchdown, I don't think anybody cares. You get into the kneel formation and everybody's relaxed and you hand the ball off, like, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about it. But I know there are plenty of y'all that are Saints fans that just love to stick it to Atlanta one way or another, and they certainly did that yesterday, dominating the Falcons, who have a lot of change coming in that organization. I think at quarterback, and certainly now, as we know, at head coach. Doesn't appear that much of that change is coming for New Orleans, so we'll see what they can do in the offseason to try to get a little bit younger and a little bit better, because 9-8, not going to get it done. They'll be watching at home for these playoffs. LSU got a big basketball win. We'll talk about that next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-126-74. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. It's Natty Day. We'll preview Michigan and Washington and the latest on the LSU defensive staff coaching search. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Saw my guy Trey Beal today at lunch. Gave me one of these tumblers with the Gulf Coast Office Product logo. I'm enjoying my water in right now. Appreciate them for bringing you our Monday shows. New addition here to the Hunt Palmer Show. But if you listen to After Further Review, you've heard about Gulf Coast Office Products for years. GCOPnet.com. GCOPnet.com. Gulf Coast Office Products. LSU, just a really, really, really nice win on Saturday in College Station. Tigers go over there and beat the Aggies 68-53. I had no expectation that this was coming. I don't think anyone did. Texas A&M returns a lot from a really good team last year, a team that blitzed through the SEC and that was a threat to be a late-round NCAA team. They ended up losing early. But they bring back a team that won 15 games in the league last year. And they did lose Julius Marble. He has not played all year, but Wade Taylor comes back as the SEC preseason player of the year. Henry Coleman's been fantastic. Bruce Radford feels like he's been in college basketball for 43 years, from Virginia Tech now to Texas A&M. They've got dudes, and they've been pretty good this year. They've scheduled an incredibly difficult schedule, as we talked about on Friday. Lost to Memphis, lost to Virginia, lost to Houston. They lost to FAU, who's in the Final Four last year and has another good team this year. So, you know, it's a veteran team, a team that's got a lot of skins on the wall, and a team that does not lose in Reed Arena very often. And two things happened in this game that benefited LSU, one of which I believe was firmly in LSU's control, the other of which I think was a little bit of good fortune, but both things happened, and that's why LSU won the basketball game. One of them was the fact that Texas A&M shot the ball horrendously. Now, it's a bad shooting team, or a poor shooting team. It has been most of the year, and they shot 5 of 28 from the three-point line. Wade Taylor was 3 of 12 from three-point range. Tyrese Radford, 2 of 7. But that happens a lot. And I think when you play 18 conference games, there are going to be days where you shoot the lights out, days you can't throw it in the ocean. There are going to be days where the team you play against shoots the light out, and days when they can't throw it in the ocean. And this was one of those days for LSU that A&M couldn't throw it in the ocean. And I don't know that that's entirely due to LSU. It's just one of those days where shots aren't falling, and that's good fortune for LSU, and you certainly do not apologize for that. The other piece to this, though, I give massive amounts of credit to LSU for. Texas A&M is the best offensive rebounding team in college basketball. They own the offensive glass. In this game, they only got 13 offensive rebounds, same number LSU got. They had 3 second chance points in the game. If you listen to our interview with Travis Brown on Friday, he covers Texas A&M for the Bryan College Station Eagle. He said, look, they are where they are in terms of adjusted offensive efficiency was pretty good because they do such a good job on the offensive glass and they create more shots. They're not a great shooting team. They just create more shots. And the other thing that they do, and this is a Buzz Williams hallmark, is they force a lot of turnovers, which limits the opposition's shot. A&M is usually not going to be the best shooting team on the floor. But if you get way more offensive rebounds and force a lot of turnovers, you create far more shots for yourself on offense, and you limit the shot attempts for the other team when you're on defense, and that's how you tip the scales in your favor, and you're able to get far more shots up, so you win. Well, if you look at the field goals, LSU shot 67, and Texas A&M shot 59. LSU had 8 more shots than Texas A&M. Now, that got tilted a little bit from the free throw perspective because A&M shot 26 and LSU only shot 11. But the point remains, LSU kept the numbers of shot attempts basically even, and LSU shot a better percentage. LSU shot 40% from the floor, and A&M shot 25%. And I give LSU a ton of credit for getting on the glass. And that has to be everyone. You, of course, need your bigs. You need Will Baker down there getting rebounds. You need Derek Fountain on the glass. When Hunter Dean's in there, he's got a rebound. Certainly, your front court's got a rebound. But Jordan Wright on the wing, he comes in and gets 10 rebounds for LSU. That's huge. And you made shots when you need to. I thought Tyrell Ward hit a couple of big threes. I thought Jalen Cook controlled the tempo. It wasn't a huge assist day for him with just 3, and he did have to sit for an extended period of time with 3 fouls. But LSU steadied themselves when he was out and did a really nice job. And so I thought this was a really, really good win for LSU, not one I expected them to get. You look at the way Wake Forest is playing, that's a couple of nice wins that LSU's got on its resume to this point. And again, I'm not talking NCAA tournament or anything right now, but you got that win, and now you have an opportunity to come home and play a Vanderbilt team that is just awful. And on a given night, whatever can happen in Southeastern Conference play. I'm sure if LSU played A&M in Reed Arena 10 times, I don't know that the result's very favorable for LSU, but they did it once, and they got the win. You should come back home and beat Vanderbilt. You should. Now, you should beat Nichols, too, okay? But you should come home and beat Vanderbilt, and then you'd be 2-0. I don't have any sort of delusions of grandeur about where this team is right now. I haven't taken 40 minutes in College Station and flipped this thing around to suggest that, hey, they've really got something figured out here. I think they're still a bottom quarter of the SEC type team until they prove me wrong. And I would love that because I loved Saturday. I really enjoyed making A&M look terrible. But it's a good start, and they should be really excited about it and really happy about it. And hopefully it inspires them to go to work and take care of their business coming up tomorrow night. It's a late tip in the PMAC, 8 o'clock, but it's a very, very, very winnable ball game. Trent Johnson had a team that started 2-0 in league play, and the bottom kind of fell out. And you remember last year, LSU started SEC play with a win over Arkansas, who was very, very good and ranked at the time. And then you went to Rupp and played Kentucky really, really tough, and then it completely got away from you. So, it's a long, long season. But for a program that's trying to find some footing and trying to move forward a little bit, that was a really nice step in the right direction for this team. And I'll tell you this, they are better with Jalen Cook. They just are. That was a very, very sore spot for them without a primary ball handler, having a freshman do it or Jordan Wright do it, who that's really not his role on a team. They bring him in. Everybody else can kind of go to where they need to be. Williams can play off the ball a little bit. You can limit his minutes a little bit. Trey Hannibal doesn't have to do everything when he's out there handling the ball. He can kind of be an off-ball attacker. Jordan Wright doesn't have to worry about bringing the ball up. He can go down there and kind of do what he does offensively, and Cook's been better defensively as well than what LSU had. I don't think of Jalen Cook as some sort of lockdown defender. He's a better offensive player than he is a defensive player. But the point being, like, everyone can kind of stay in their lane now that Jalen Cook has come in, and they have played better since he came back. I mean, the Texas game notwithstanding, it was his first game, kind of toss him in there, see what happens, and Texas got away from him in Houston. But since then, since Christmas, it's been a nice little run for LSU, and hopefully they continue to just improve and get better. That's what I'm looking for out of this team. I don't see them going to College Station, getting that win, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, what does Joe Lenardi say about this team? Like, that's not where we are. But I do need, over the next 17 games, to see LSU make strides from where they were in November and December to there. Because next year, I think the expectation level ratchets up. Year 1 was a wash to me. Year 2 needs to show an improvement, get your feet on the ground, and push forward. Year 3, okay, what do you got? This is the program. So really, really nice work by those guys to go get a 15-point lead win over Texas A&M. And now you come home and face probably the worst team in the league. A chance to go 2-0. And that'd be a really, really cool start for this LSU basketball team. Hat tip to Matt McMahon and the whole crew over there for getting it done on Saturday in Reed Arena. Still plenty to get to on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. We got to talk about Bryce Underwood committing and what that means for LSU. We got to talk about the College Football National Championship game. Blake Baker's been hired as LSU's defensive coordinator. All of that moving forward. We'll also chat with Denton Day coming up next as he gets us ready for the College Football Playoff National Championship game. Looking up there at ESPN, got the end zones painted in NRG. You got Pete Thamel and Adam Schefter talking about it, and Jim Harbaugh kind of next move. That's the thought up there. We'll talk about that with Denton Day and much more coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Look, weather's going to be bad today, no doubt about it. It's probably bad right now, quite honestly, but we're insulated from it. Don't let your power go out. Can't stop it today, but you can stop it in the future with the folks over there at Boudreaux's Electric. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. They'll come over to your house. They'll assess your needs. How many square feet are we talking here? What do we want to power when the power goes off? You want to run the entire house? They can do that. You just want to make sure it stays cool or warm depending on time of year, and the fridge and freezer are running, maybe the television. They can do that as well. They'll customize it to you, and I promise you this. They will send over a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee, not some contracted individual, no, full-time employee. They're going to install that generator in a way that is aesthetically pleasing with the finest copper wirings and tubing, and they're going to do most of the install underground so that it looks nice. Take pride in the way your home looks. Boudreaux's takes pride in the way that their generator installs look as well. Give them a call. Gonzales location opening up here in the next couple of weeks, but the phone line is already up and running. 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
our homes along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary. For those
On Tuesday's OTB, we'll recap the football national championship, who ended up taking home the sport's biggest trophy, plus start to break down the NFL playoffs. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got a lot to talk about over the next 90 minutes. Glad you're hanging out with us. We're glad we're hanging out with Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime. Joining us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, how are you, sir?
Hunt, what's going on, man? We're finally at the end of this year. I don't know whether to be excited or sad.
Both are appropriate emotions, but I'm excited to watch this game. Obviously, as an LSU guy, it's been brutal for over the years. Always an SEC team in there that I'm trying to sweat out and make sure they don't win it. Now I can just watch in peace, pour a cocktail, and enjoy some good football, and that's what we're going to do tonight. I do want to start with this, though. You're a Commanders guy. We see this on Twitter. They fired Ron Rivera. Can I interest you in Dennis Allen from New Orleans? You can take him, and maybe the Saints can get on the market.
Yeah, I'm good on him. You guys maybe send him back to Las Vegas. I mean, the Chargers have an open. You guys can keep him. I need somebody new, and somebody that preferably is going to draft your boy Jay Daniels, whether it be number 2 or trade back. That's the quarterback I want for the future in D.C.
I think it's possible. I think the second pick is plausible for Jaden. I actually had a prediction last week. I was doing kind of bold predictions for 2024. I think it's possible that he could go number 1. I don't know that it's likely, but we saw Baker Mayfield have that, real helium rise there at the end. Everybody's kind of looking around going, is Cleveland actually going to take Baker Mayfield with the first pick? Maybe there's something like that with Jaden.
I think it's possible, but I think the guy that's going to have that helium rise is going to be Drake May. I think there's going to be certain traits about him that scouts in the NFL absolutely fall in love with, and I don't know. There's something about UNC quarterbacks that really get people going in the NFL. I can't find out what it is, but I just know that it's the truth.
Mitchell Trubisky. I'm a huge Cubs fan. I follow a lot of Chicago media for that, and the Bears stuff leaks into my timeline. They're not huge fans of Mitch over there in Chicago. Is this Jim Harbaugh's last game at the college level?
Yeah, I think it is. You mentioned the Commanders. According to a couple of sources, they've already reached out to his agent. He's going to get a lot of looks from guys in the NFL. Now, I do wonder if he loses versus if he wins, how that impacts it. But I think ultimately this is going to be his final game in college, at least for the time being. He'll probably make his way back at some point. It seems to be the case with Jim Harbaugh. People can only stand him for a finite amount of time. So I'm sure he'll eventually be back, but it'll be a lot easier to ride off into the sunset if he wins the championship.
No question about it. I think you become pretty legendary at that point if you ride off into the sunset after the first national championship in 20-plus years. Yeah, since 97, I believe it was. So all right, let's talk about the game on the field. First, this Michigan defense has been sensational all year, and they were good last week against Alabama. Is this the stiffest test they will have faced all year?
Yeah, it certainly is. The only team that would even be in the conversation with Washington is Ohio State, but you know as well as I do, that offense was not what it's been in years past. Kyle McCord just wasn't at that level, and he certainly is not at the level of Michael Penix. So this is going to be a really tough test for them. But what's really going to be exciting is the offensive line versus that Michigan defensive line. If you can put pressure on Michael Penix, you have yourself a big advantage if you are Michigan. The guy's only been sacked 11 times, but they do a great job keeping him on 2 feet. So it's going to be a real challenge to get pressure on Michael Penix. But if they can come away with it, Michigan's going to be in a really, really good spot tonight.
Yeah, Texas did not have a sack on Michael Penix, and we saw Washington basically go up and down the field on him. Conversely, Michigan annihilated Alabama's offensive line, which has been a little bit of an issue all year. So who do you give the advantage to there at the line of scrimmage when Washington has the ball?
I think right now I give the slight advantage to Michigan. And I always, in these conversations, I always tend to lean a little bit more to the defense, just because I think there is a little bit more of a physicality approach that they can take to it, and they can kind of use the element of confusion to their advantage, where Washington's going to have a little bit of a more difficult time confusing Michigan's defensive line. So I'd give a very, very slight edge to Michigan in that regard, but it's going to be a headbanger down there for sure.
How much confidence do you have in J.J. McCarthy?
Not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, I wish I did. I think at the beginning of the season, I looked at this year in particular for him and saying, all right, he's going to take a big step forward this year. He's going to really cement himself as the guy. And credit to him, he had a great drive to end regulation of the game last week. But I just look at what he's done this season, and partly because Michigan isn't asking him to do a ton, but I just don't have a ton of confidence in him, especially when you consider the guy that is on the other side. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy can be tasked with shouldering the load offensively in this one.
So how much of the load goes to Blake Corum at that point?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And especially because when you look at Washington's defense this season, they've really struggled stopping the run. So you take Blake Corum and you use a little bit of Donovan Edwards and just a host of other guys that Michigan has in their backfield. I think there's a real potential that Michigan could run it up on this Washington defense tonight.
Interesting. So you don't love McCarthy, but you just think that Michigan's just going to be able to pound away at Washington. Do you think this gets into a shootout then? Can Washington keep up against that Michigan defense?
You know, that's a really good question, Hunt, because when I think, at least on paper, I think initially you think shootout and you're like, oh, well, Washington's clearly going to win because they have so much offense. But I think if this gets into a shootout, that means Michigan's offense is firing. And ultimately it is going to come down to who can make a stop first. And if it gets to a shootout and Michigan's offense is firing, I trust their defense more than I trust Washington's defense to get a stop. So weirdly, I almost favor Michigan. If you start getting into, both teams into the 40s, I think I almost favor Michigan in that regard, just based on the other side of the football.
So who's your pick in the game tonight?
So I'm picking Michigan. I'm laying the 4.5, and I'm picking Michigan. Though I did have, this is a very rare thing that happens, but it did happen this morning. I logged into my handy dandy gambling app, just looked at some of my bets, and guess who put a 40-1 futures odds on Washington to win the championship like 4 months ago? I'm getting money either way.
There you
tonight,
go.
So I do think Michigan wins.
The old hedge. We always play the hypothetical, usually in December and January when the coaching carousel fires up. Like, how good a job is this? How good a job is that? What's the ceiling for this program or that? What is that discussion like for Washington as they enter the Big Ten? Like, where do they fit into the college football hierarchy?
I think they're certainly an upper echelon in the Big Ten. I would say if you're just looking at jobs, Ohio State is ahead of them. I would say Michigan is ahead of them. And then maybe, like a very, very thick maybe on USC. But I mean, at least based on the past couple of years, I would favor Washington over to USC. And the thing is, like, when it comes to these job questions, everybody asks, well, can you win a championship there? Can you win a championship there? I mean, Washington's getting to a championship, right? So certainly you can get there with Washington. We haven't seen that with USC. We haven't seen it with a team like Penn State. Like, all these teams have great history in college football. But right now, I would say that Washington, when they join the Big Ten officially, which that might be the night if Tony Petitti gets on stage, but I would say they're at least a top 4 job in the Big Ten.
So if I told you after tonight, I said, okay, you get to be the head coach at one of these 2 schools, and you're going to get a 6-year contract, and you have to you'll get all 6 years, and you have to win a national championship. You can either be the head coach at Penn State or Washington. Which would you choose?
I would go right now. I'd go Washington.
Interesting. I would have never thought that 6 months ago. Like, that would not have been. It would not even have been a thought for me 6 months ago, because I'm big on natural recruiting area in this sport. And Washington doesn't have a great one. They've got to go to, I mean, you look at their roster. Michael Penix is from Tampa through Indiana. And so you got guys from Vegas on that team. And Penn State's got talent-rich Pennsylvania right there that they can tap into. But, Washington's been in this thing twice now, and Penn State's never been in it.
Yeah, they've been in this thing, and they're based in Seattle. A lot of tech guys around there that have ties to that university. So when you start talking about NIL money, there's a little bit of money to be spent there in Washington.
It's a different era. Those are things that you've got to absolutely consider. Well, Denton, it's been a treat to do this each and every week during college football season. Enjoy the game tonight, man.
Hunt, appreciate it, man. Let's go make some money this evening.
We'll do it. Denton Day in College Football Overtime on Sirius XM with us every single Monday, talking all things college football. That's an interesting discussion. I'll just say it, because I'm big on that deal. Like, what's your natural recruiting area look like? What kind of money do you have? What kind of tradition do you have? And you've heard me over the last 3 years on the show talk about. There's a reason that Cal can't do this, and Mississippi State can't do this, and West Virginia can't do that, and Boston College can't do that, and it's really just a little bit of a core group. And I'm honestly, as I sit here today, I 6 months ago would not have put Washington in the discussion of teams that could get it done. I really wouldn't. And as I sit here today, and they're going to kick this thing off in 5 hours, I think they got a real good chance to win tonight. I'll pick the game coming up at the top of hour number 2, but that would really kind of throw things upside down on my thoughts. And I've got to give Ole Miss a look at that. And maybe they were exposed when they played Alabama and Georgia, and I don't have to take them all that seriously, but they're basically bringing the band back next year with a veteran quarterback and a really good play caller. Maybe there are more teams that can do this than I think. Now, I'm sit here fully aware that I probably had those same thoughts about TCU last year, and they got embarrassed. I don't think Washington's getting embarrassed tonight. It will really surprise me if Michigan wins this game by 28 points. It would surprise me if Washington won by 28 points too, but TCU got annihilated. They were not competitive at all at any point in that game last year, and we're still at that point in the season where we would have thought they were relevant 5 hours before kickoff. But maybe I'm a little bit too close-minded. Maybe there are a few more teams that can do this, especially in an NIL era. I just wouldn't have put Washington in there. There have been so few teams that have truly climbed the mountain in the last 25 years. I mean, you can point to them. It's Georgia and Bama and Auburn and Florida, LSU, USC, Texas, Ohio State, Clemson. You're pretty much rattling off every national championship there. There's no Virginias sneaking their head in. You don't see Colorado or Arizona State popping up. It's the same core group, Oklahoma in that discussion. And I don't know that I would have put Washington in that tier. But here they are, 5 hours to kick off, and I think they got a real shot to win. I'll talk more about it coming up at the top of hour number 2. So appreciate Denton for joining us. LSU got a pretty big commitment over the weekend. I'll talk about my thoughts on it and what it means for the future of the LSU football program coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GEAR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GEAR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GEAR.
Join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. We're recapping the Natty, and Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pretty big night on Saturday, well, afternoon, I guess about 4:30 in the afternoon for the LSU football program. As we hoped and kind of expected, Bryce Underwood committed to LSU, the number one player in the class of 2025, the number one quarterback in the class of 2025. It was a race between LSU and Michigan, the home state school. And it appears the Tigers have won out for the time being. I'm well aware of how things can change in recruiting, but feels like LSU's done a great job of laying the foundation and building a relationship, and they've secured his commitment for the time being. And I think that's a great, great thing. Recruiting is not what it was 5 years ago because of the transfer portal, and I think we all have a good understanding of that. We all know what happens to college football players over time. You're going to sign a class, in LSU's case, of 30 this year or so, and do we think 20 of those guys will play 4 years at LSU? I don't. It's possible, but you don't know. So as I go into this segment and talk about what I think it means for LSU's football program, keep in mind, I'm well aware of how this thing works. Somebody could throw a huge NIL deal at him between now and signing day, and he could not end up at LSU. He could go to LSU for 1 year and bolt. He may start 3 seasons at LSU. He may never start a game. I'm well aware of how this thing works, but I do understand that securing a commitment from the number one player in the country who happens to be a quarterback is a huge, huge deal. And if this thing works out like you hope, you've got your Trevor Lawrence. You've got your Bryce Young or Tua Tagovailoa. Guys that were hot shot, 5-star, multi-year recruiting battle wins that quickly became a starting quarterback and led you to high highs. Tua won a championship. Trevor Lawrence won a championship. Bryce Young won a Heisman Trophy and was excellent in his time as the quarterback at Alabama. And that's what you hope you have. Because if you get that guy at LSU with the amount of talent you're going to put around him, we've seen what these offenses can look like in 19 and then again in 2023. And that's what you think you have at the most important position in the sport. Now, I can point to other number one quarterbacks in the country. Jeff Driscoll going to Florida. How about Tate Martell, who was a 5-star once upon a time? I think he played for 11 colleges. Kyle Allen was the number one quarterback in the country when he signed with Texas A&M. Jarrett Stidham was the number one quarterback in the country, went to Baylor, then to Auburn. So it doesn't always work out. There's no guarantee. But everyone who scouts Bryce Underwood suggests that this guy is awesome. And I'm not going to use the term generational talent because he's not a generational talent. There will be multiple quarterbacks in the next 10 years that play football like Bryce Underwood. I'm confident. But I think he's awesome. And the comp, when I look at the tape, and again, nobody's paying me to be their general manager in the NFL or to be a recruiting coordinator at the college football level. I just grab a microphone at 1 o'clock. When I look at the tape and I see the arm strength and the athleticism, ability to run, the build, and the accolades, it looks Trevor Lawrence-ish to me. Long, rangy, good athlete, big arm, accurate, wins a lot of games. All these are attributes that Trevor Lawrence had prior to getting to Clemson. And we know that he sat for about half a season and then made his push. And they ended up being a championship team under him and played for it the next year against LSU. Of course, he was the number one pick in the draft and is doing pretty well in the NFL. That's kind of what this feels like. And if you look at LSU and you see what Garrett Nussmeier did in the bowl game, the fact that he's got 2 years left that he can play. Bryce Underwood will play one of those in high school and then will be on campus for the next year. That transition looks natural. And I don't mean to slight Ricky Collins or to slight didn't come to me. Quarterback in this class, Colin Hurley. Every once in a while, you're sitting there doing 10 hours a week of live radio, and the name just leaves your head. But I don't mean to slight those two guys, but the timeline kind of works out for Nussmeier to do this for a couple of years and for Underwood to take the reins. There are a million hurdles between now and that first snap for Underwood that have to be cleared. But this is a big deal. And while there are a lot of factors in the world of recruiting that influence decisions one way or another, LSU looks pretty attractive right now on the recruiting trail when you think about Bryce Underwood, you think about the number one running back in the country in Harlem Berry, who committed last week, and you've got a commitment from the number one wide receiver in the country. And all of a sudden you start to look at that as a high school player and the guys that are headed that way, LSU starts to look pretty attractive. And LSU went to New Orleans to get one, went to Dallas to get another, and went to Michigan to get another one. So hat tip to Brian Kelly, to Joe Sloan, to Frank Wilson, to the entire LSU organization for moving this thing in the right direction. And that's a big, big deal to get the commitment from the number one quarterback in the country. LSU has not done that since Ryan Perrilloux. And again, that's another way these things can play out. But big, big, big deal for LSU over the weekend. There's reason for a lot of optimism offensively. There are a lot of things they got to work on and fix on the defensive side of the football in this football program, and we'll talk about that coming up with the hiring of Blake Baker a little bit later. But this is a big deal for LSU football and should be definitely celebrated, and celebrate a little bit more when the ink dries on National Signing Day coming up in a year. That's it for our first hour. Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Our guy Trey Beal, he's the man. Had a great lunch with Trey earlier today. He's a man about town. That's the deal. When you get Trey Beal as your rep with Gulf Coast Office Products, you're going to get an in-person experience. He's going to be hands-on, and it's going to be a fantastic experience. If you're looking for copiers, looking for printers, I got Trey Beal has got you covered right there. Look, you've got over 100 Louisiana employees, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, North Shore. And if you call Gulf Coast Office Products, they're going to pick up the phone. You're going to talk to an actual person. Say, hey, I need to talk to Trey. You'll be transferred to Trey immediately. You're not calling a 1-800 number with one of these nationals chains where you're just a client number. You're going to have a personal relationship with Trey and the folks over at Gulf Coast Office Products. They got 3-year leases, 4-year leases, 5-year leases on your copiers and printers. So go to Gulf Coast Office Products at gcopnet.com. We'll take a break for Sports Center. When we come back, let's talk about the college football national championship game tonight.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I'm Christine Lisi. All eyes on Houston tonight, where number 1 Michigan and number 2 Washington clash in the College Football Playoff National Championship game. 6:30 Eastern ESPN Radio, 7:30 Eastern ESPN, and other ESPN platforms. One day after the Patriots ended a 4-13 season, Coach Bill Belichick, with a reminder for reporters that he is under contract, also said he's open to letting someone else handle personnel duties if he remains in New England. He's set to meet soon with owner Bob Kraft. If Belichick does leave, who might the Patriots consider as his successor? ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter.
I think Gerard Mayo is on the staff, and he's been linked to that job, but it hasn't been a great year in New England. So I think they'll absolutely talk to him. Do I think he's a lock to get the job? I don't, but I think he would get some consideration, as others will as well. They're going to cast a wide net. Look, Robert Kraft hasn't done a coaching search in 24 years, 25 years.
The Commanders have started a sweeping overhaul of their football leadership with the firing of Coach Ron Rivera. Teams hired former Warriors GM Bob Myers and former Vikings GM Rick Spielman to assist with searches for a new head of football operations and head coach.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman. Coming up Tuesday, as we head into the NFL playoffs, I'll tell you which quarterback I'm most concerned with. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Your attention to something quite extraordinary.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Glad you are hanging out with us. Weather rolling through South Louisiana, so if you're out and about on the roads, please be careful. You don't have to be. Hang out at home or the office like us. We'll be here with you until 3 o'clock, so appreciate you making us part of your day. Stay safe out there, South Louisiana. Got some folks trying to fly into Houston, especially from the east right now for a national championship game. Having some issues. A lot of delays flying into Houston today. LSU's not going to be there, so no issues for us. But Michigan and Washington will be there, and I'm fired up to watch this game. I'll be honest. Like, I don't like watching the national championship game with Alabama in it. Like, that's not generally an enjoyable thing for me, especially when they win. I don't love watching the national championship game with Florida in it or Auburn in it. That's far too often been the case around here. And tonight, Washington and Michigan, I don't give a rip who wins. So it's going to be really enjoyable to have a seat on the couch, not have the blood pressure rise at all, and just watch two really good football teams go at it for a national championship and no real emotional attachment. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't exactly remember what I said leading into Georgia TCU last year. I can guess that I think because I remember coming in the next day and feeling like, man, you're an idiot. You should have seen that coming. I thought I suggested that TCU could stay in it. Good quarterback, been in tough games all year, found a way, beat Michigan. Like, they can do it. They couldn't do it. And while I think Michigan's got a better roster than Washington, if you're going top to bottom, the top of Washington's is so good with those three receivers and that quarterback that I would be surprised, like I said in the first hour, if Michigan runs away from Washington. Now, Michigan, in my opinion, is exceptionally well coached. I think Jim Harbaugh is kind of weird. I think his interviews are weird. Some of the things he does with the milk and the sleepover at a recruit's house, and I think some of the things he does are weird. I think he's a great coach. He was a great coach at Stanford. He was a great coach in San Francisco, and he's a great coach at Michigan. And it took them a long time to get it in gear. Do you remember when they cut his pay in half a few years ago? I was chatting with a friend via text last week on What If Wednesday. He's like, I got a what if for you, and I forgot to do it on the show. what if Michigan, and I use some air quotes, doesn't get COVID in 2020 and skip that Ohio State game? If Ohio State crushes them again, that's a losing season for Michigan. He would have never beaten Ohio State. Maybe they fire him. But they got COVID, didn't play the game. Everybody kind of swept everything under the rug. And then they came back, and all of a sudden Michigan found it. And now they played in the playoff 3 years in a row. Crazy to think that he was almost out. They literally cut his pay in half. He went from $8 million a year to $4 million a year. Had the NCAA buzzards swirling, weren't winning games. And they cut his pay in half. That's how close they were to firing him. And now all of a sudden they're at heights they have not seen since 1997. But I say they're an exceptionally well-coached team. They have the fewest penalty yards in the country. So they don't put themselves behind the chains. They don't give teams free yards. And they're second in the NCAA in turnover margin. They've only turned the ball over 8 times in 14 games. Conversely, they have forced a turnover in 13 of their 14 games this year. That's a masterclass on how to win the yardage stick. You take the ball away, you don't give it up, and you don't give free yards on either way. You don't get those holding penalties that make it 1st and 20. You don't get illegal hands to the face on a 3rd and 11 and give up an automatic first down. That's 2 huge statistics. And over the course of an entire season, they're among the best in the country there. Now, turnovers are interesting because Michael Penix has thrown 9 interceptions. He's thrown at least 1 interception in 7 of their last 10 games. So can Michigan get their hands on one and create a short field? We know that Washington is going to throw the football a lot. They've got a great quarterback and a studly trio of receivers. Adunze, Polk, McMillan. They're really, really good. How does Michigan stack up with that defense? They've got a defense that has not allowed 400 yards or 25-plus points all year. No team has gotten to either benchmark. No one's gotten to 400 yards, and no one has gotten to 25 points. And it's because they've got a great pass rush that ate Alabama's offensive line for lunch in the Rose Bowl. I mean, they were absolutely relentless on the pass rush. And we know that Alabama's offensive line has been a bit of an issue. That was a big talking point when we were getting ready for LSU in Alabama. But they blocked Georgia pretty well. They could not block Michigan. Could not block them. And Washington's going to have to. Washington did not allow a sack against Texas. Texas is a team that's got potentially 2 first-rounders on the defensive front. T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, both may go in the first round. No sacks against Michael Penix in that game. And so it starts with the pass rush for Michigan, but they also have elite players in the secondary. They've got 3 guys that play defensive back that may go in the top 75 picks of this draft. But can they stop Adunze, Polk, McMillan? They'll be running, and look, Penix will be throwing. When you flip it, Washington's defense has had its issues in some games. We knew it was going to be a shootout in the Sugar Bowl. Like, there was no doubt there were going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Michigan generally doesn't play that way. They play it kind of like they did in the Rose Bowl, where you're looking at a game that's played around 24. But Michigan's going to run the ball. It's going to be Blake Corum. We were talking to Denton Day back in the first hour. Like, Michigan's going to try to hold the ball for 37 minutes in this game and run it down Washington's throat. They're going to huddle. They may play slow. And they haven't really asked J.J. McCarthy to do much of anything all year. He played pretty well against Ohio State, and he did enough in the Rose Bowl. I think this is going to be a great game. I think that it's not going to be quite as high scoring as we saw in the Sugar Bowl because I think Michigan will run the ball. I think they'll do so effectively. I think they'll play some ball control. But I think Washington can keep up. I think they're going to score. Penix is that good. I didn't watch all 4 quarters of the Arizona State game when he threw 2 picks and they didn't score an offensive touchdown. Like, must have been terrible. But whenever I have watched him, it's been damn good. He was awesome against Oregon. He was awesome against Texas. And I think he'll be awesome tonight. But I just think the roster, 1 to 40, I don't need to go all the way to 85. I don't really care what the freshmen who are 4 stars and don't play yet are doing. But 1 to 40, I just think Michigan's better. And I think Michigan will win the game. I think it's something like 27-20, 30-21, something like that. I'll pick the final score. I'll go 27-20 as the final score. I do like Michigan's defense. I think they will get a turnover here or there. I think Penix will keep up and he'll make some plays, but in the end, I just think it's Michigan's time. And I think once Michigan wins tonight, it's going to set off a big chain reaction in the football world. I think Jim Harbaugh moves on. Michigan's incredible job is vacant. I don't know if that matters to LSU or not. I don't know anything, but that's a very, very desirable job. And I'm curious how they'll respond to Jim Harbaugh if he wins the national championship, which is what this is about as hungry a fan base as there is in the sport. I think Georgia was that for a while. Now I think that's Michigan. If they can get that done, I would think he'd be a legend, but people around here weren't too happy with Nick Saban when he won one and bolted. So we'll see. But I like Michigan tonight in Houston. I think it'd be a good crowd. I am excited a little bit that the game's at 6:30. I thought for sure it'd be like a 7:30, 8 o'clock kickoff. I checked this morning. I was like, 6:30, we can handle that. Get to bed at a reasonable hour. I think Michigan wins it. Jim Harbaugh moves on, and we'll see what happens after that. We'll react into it on tomorrow's show for sure. Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com for all your printers and your copiers. We will take a timeout. When we come back, LSU's got a new defensive coordinator. We haven't talked about that yet. Let's do it.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, look what I found! The motivation I needed to live healthy. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why. Have you found yours?
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical.
Join me for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Get you ready for the national championship game. Respond to Saints and Falcons, as well as LSU and A&M on the hardwood. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
More news this weekend as LSU announced its new defensive coordinator. By now you know that is Blake Baker, who comes back to LSU after spending a couple years as the defensive coordinator up at Missouri. Bounced around a little bit. Been at Miami, Louisiana Tech, LSU, up to Missouri, comes back. He spent 4 years as defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at Louisiana Tech, and did a pretty good job there in that role. And that's how he got the Miami job. And he was there in 2019. And then in 2020, he was there at Miami and he moved to LSU in 2021. So familiar with the area, obviously having been at Louisiana Tech and LSU for a total of 6 years. That's a lot of time in the state of Louisiana. And his wife is very familiar with the area because she played soccer at LSU. So from one perspective, there are layers to a coordinator hire. There's track record, history, style, recruiting ability, ties to the area, all that kind of stuff. He's certainly familiar with the area. He's certainly familiar with LSU. He's familiar with the SEC. He's been a very, very good recruiter. I think his star pupil here at LSU was Damone Clark, who was good early on in 19, struggled in 20, came alive in 2021. So he did a good job of coaching there, and he did a good job at Missouri in terms of how their defense played. They were number 4 in the SEC in scoring defense, 5th in the league in run defense and total defense. They forced a ton of fumbles this year, which I don't know if I'm going to give a ton of credit to the defensive coordinator for that, but they did. And they were 18th in the country in tackles for loss, which I think shows some ability to be very aggressive. I think this is a good hire. You very, very rarely are going to see a hire made where you look at it and go, well, that's just a terrible hire. Like maybe you could have done that with A&M and Bobby Petrino. Like you hired who from where? He was good like 10 years ago. Like maybe there was some dissension there. But usually, no matter if it's a head coach or a coordinator hire, the school is going to have hired someone who's on an upward trajectory. Whether that is at a coordinator level, at a head coach level, things have gone pretty well at the last stop for you to get hired. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But the thing that I like about Blake Baker is that he's young. And I think college football is a young man's game. Helps, generally speaking, in recruiting when you have some youth and some energy and an ability to recruit, to relate to the 16, 17-year-old high schooler. The hours are absurd. It helps to be young in that way. And I think there's an element of kind of growing up in this era of basketball on grass football that serves the youth. They've just known it forever. So I can't sit here on January the 8th in 2024 and give you the entire breakdown of Blake Baker as an X's and O's guys. 3-man front, 4-man front, bear front, over front, how aggressive he is. I don't have any analytics in front of me. No, I just think that the resume makes a lot of sense. LSU has got a ton of work to do on the defensive side of the ball. That is now filling a coordinator vacancy. You've got position coaches that have got to be hired. You need to hit the transfer portal. There's got to be a lot of development that goes on. And you've got to get a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. But I think Blake Baker makes a lot of sense. He checks just about every box. Have you coordinated a defense? Yeah. In the SEC? Yeah. Are you a proven recruiter? Yeah. Ties to the area? Yeah. Been at LSU? Yeah. Developed players there? Yeah. Like just about everything you could want there with Blake Baker. This may work out phenomenally. He may be here 2 years and take a Power 5 head coaching job. It may flame out and they're just as bad as they were last year. It turns out it couldn't be fixed in a year. I don't know what the future holds, but I can sit here and honestly tell you that this makes a ton of sense in terms of checking boxes with LSU's defensive coordinator. They've got to go out and handle defensive backs coach. Corey's going to get all the rumor mill swirling there, but the fact that it hasn't happened yet would suggest maybe that wasn't as surefire as maybe some thought. Corey has worked with Blake Baker in the past. They were on the same staff here under Ed Ogeron. You look at defensive line coach, sounds like Bo Davis is going to stay in Austin, so you're going to have to look around elsewhere for that. And Baker will coach the linebackers and coordinate the defense. So there's still a lot to be done. But this is the first big step that had to happen, and I think it's good. I think that you've seen a positive reaction from a lot of LSU's players via social media. You've seen some negativity from Missouri, which is good. You don't want a fan base happy that someone left. You want them to be upset because that means that they were doing a good job, and that's kind of basically been the sentiment from up there at Mizzou. Still chuckle that there were a few people responding to tweets from Missouri beat writers saying, I just don't understand why anyone would leave Missouri where we are right now to go to LSU. Like, clearly, something doesn't add up. Like, dude, $2.5 million a year to go for a place that has won 3 national championships in this century? To leave a place that hadn't won the conference this century? Makes more sense than you would think. The other piece to this, and this is where I'll conclude this little discussion, is that $2.5 million that I just talked about. Man, LSU can spend some cash. And you don't ever want money to get in the way of progress. You don't want to not have enough money. I'd rather spend too much than not have enough. But they're paying a lot of coaches a lot of money. And I just know as I sit here, you're paying Ed Ogeron, probably still paying less for all I know. You're definitely still paying Matt House, Robert Steeples. Like, there are a lot of funds that go into that. And now you realize you have to use those funds in recruiting, and you got to continue to build facilities. And LSU hasn't proven itself not to be able to hold up. We just all sit and assume, based on what we think we know, that LSU can't quite keep up with Texas or Texas A&M or the money that Alabama or Georgia is spending. Just little old Louisiana, just trying to rub 2 nickels together. But whenever they need to get rid of Les, they do. Whenever they need to get rid of Ed Ogeron, they do. Whenever they need to get rid of Bo Pelini or Matt House, they do. Whenever they need to hire a new defensive coordinator, they go out there and pay him $2.5 million. I'm assuming that Dominic McKinley and Bryce Underwood are going to be compensated when they get to LSU. That's just an assumption that we all live and work on at this point, this era of college football. And while I don't pretend to know how much money LSU has in its quote-unquote war chest or reserve or collective, or I don't know how much money there is, I do know that it is finite. There's not an unlimited amount of money. And sometimes I just get a little bit concerned when you commit as much money as they have to some of these positions and you outpace the market so significantly and you give guaranteed contracts. And all. I just hope that sometimes when things go south, you have the funds to keep things going. LSU's kept things going. Need to buy out a coach? He's gone. Need to hire a new one? Got him. Need NIL funds for recruiting? Appears to be there. It just, as I kind of think about it, conceptually, I'm like, I wonder how often they can still call on those same guys to keep writing checks. They've always found it one way or another, and Blake Baker's going to get a pretty healthy some of it to come down here and coordinate the defense, and hopefully he does a really, really good job. It's an appetizing and enticing spot for Blake Baker because everyone in the country is well aware of how awful LSU was on defense last year. If you put out an above-average defense at LSU next year, your name's going to be buzzing. People will know. People notice stuff that goes on in Baton Rouge. They notice that the Heisman Trophy winners team lost 3 games because of the defense. It's a spot where you can really propel your career forward if you can do a good job, and I expect that he will. I think it's a good hire by Brian Kelly and LSU. Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. GCOPnet.com, as I was telling y'all, met with Trey Beal earlier today. GCOP was founded in 1977. They're up 77. They're up to 100 Louisiana employees. They're a perfect size company to work with because they're not so small that they can't provide the resources necessary to service your account. But they're not so big that you're calling a 1-800 number, getting a busy phone line, don't have any sort of personal relationship with the company. No, they've got the size to have the resources, but they've also got that good small business feel to them because you have such a personal relationship with Trey Beal and your rep over at Gulf Coast Office Products. Same-day service or repair maintenance, look, they're going to get there. We know that you need your copier and printer to work. If it doesn't, you give a call to Gulf Coast Office Products. They'll be there same day to get you up and running. That's just something you've got to have in that industry, and Trey Beal and his crew over there absolutely understand it. So check them out at GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Appreciate our guy Trey Beal for jumping on and being a part of our Monday shows here on The Hunt Palmer Show. Still got a lot to get to over the next half an hour. Come back with us, The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team been in the game 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Whether it's a full-scale bathroom renovation, knocking out walls, new plumbing, floors, they can handle it all, soup to nuts. You don't call 4 different contractors to get, call one. David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. I promise you this. When they come in at One Bath and Closets, they're not going to hustle through, cut some corners, get to the next job, take your money. No. They're not coming back 3 weeks later because something went wrong. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Check out pictures of their awesome work at the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can see testimonials from satisfied customers. You can also request that free consultation I tell you about every single day on this show. You don't know what they can do for you unless you give them a call. Onebathandclosets.com is the website, onebathandclosets.com. Check our friends out at One Bath and Closets.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985
night, we bring you the College Football National Championship as the Washington Huskies face off against the Michigan Wolverines. Kickoff begins at 6:30, and we will have full coverage for you here. So tune in to catch the National Championship game here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Fascinating Saturday in the SEC in terms of college basketball. Of course, LSU beating Texas A&M was a big surprise in my book. Certainly going to College Station and beating Texas A&M by 15 points would qualify as a pretty significant surprise. LSU won the second half by 17 in that game. But there were other pretty eye-opening results in the SEC. Ole Miss went up to Knoxville undefeated, 13-0 in non-conference play, and Tennessee wasn't having it. They beat them by 26 points, 90-64 was the final. Look, that Ole Miss program is going to hinge on defense as long as Chris Beard is there, and they had Moussa Cisse, who's a really good defender, and they've been good all year, but Tennessee just absolutely went through them like a hot knife through butter. Jonas Adu, 24 points and 10 rebounds in the game. They scored 50 points in the second half. It was just not competitive at all. Ole Miss will have its day, and they're not quite where they're going to be under Chris Beard. I mean, he's just a really, really good coach. Say what you will about what he did and what we know about that whole situation down in Austin, whatever. He's a good basketball coach, and he'll have Ole Miss better days, but that was really impressive by Rick Barnes' team. It's ranked top 5 in the country. A heck of a win by Kentucky to pull it out late. I mean, they went to the break in Gainesville down 8, and Florida was really winning the entire game. And Kentucky found a way late to get it done. They are so up-tempo and so much fun to watch and have been such a good shooting team. And for them to go to Gainesville and to shoot 5 of 20 from 3, that's 25%, some quick math, and still score 87 points and win the game. I was impressed. I don't like to give John Calipari a lot of credit for much, but that was a heck of an effort by his boys down there in the O-Dome to get a 2-point win. They scored 50 in the second half of that game. Little bit of a shock for me to watch Auburn go to Bud Walton and do what they did. That does not happen. I know Arkansas is not nearly what they've been the last 3 years this year. Just it's in this sport, it is so year to year with roster construction. You're not really like building a program and having guys in there for 3, 4, 5 years. Like, it's transfer portal, high-end high school players, throw them together for a year, do it again the next year. And so when Arkansas had all those guys leave, all of a sudden you got to restock the shelves, and it just hasn't gone very well. And Auburn went to Bud Walton and beat them worse than any team has ever beaten an Arkansas team in Bud Walton Arena. The worst ever. 32-point win by Auburn. Janai Broome, really good game for Auburn, 14 points and 8 boards. 83-51 was the final in that one. Auburn may be a force here in the SEC. Arkansas is reeling a little bit, and Eric Musselman was kind of asked about it after the game, about kind of what the issues are, and basically said we just got our butts kicked in every aspect. There's nothing that was good. We could ask 10 different people what was good and what was bad, and they'd have 10 different bad answers. But it was, 83-51 does not happen in Bud Walton Arena to Arkansas, and it did for Bruce Pearl's team on Saturday. As fun and up-tempo and energetic and entertaining as Kentucky-Florida was in the early morning slate, Mississippi State, South Carolina was brutal. Just an absolute rock fight. Now, they're good defensive coaches and pretty good defensive teams. That's going to be Mississippi State's hallmark under Chris Jans, but it took them forever to score on Saturday. The final, South Carolina won it 68-62. Lamont Paris doing a good job with that team this year. They're 13-1 on the season. Mississippi State falls to 11-3, 0-1 in league play. It was 68-62 was the final in that one. So South Carolina gets out to a good start in SEC play. Georgia and Missouri, I don't have a ton to say about the game because I didn't watch, but I will say this. Missouri, in that year-over-year thing where you got to recreate the roster every year, they did a good job last year, and this team has not proven to be very good. They're 8-6 at this point. Losing to Georgia at home is never a great look. Memphis lost to Jackson State earlier this year, which is not good. Their other losses are certainly explainable. Illinois, Seton Hall, Kansas, Memphis. But losing to Georgia is a really tough start to conference play. They got work to do up there in Columbia, Missouri. I don't think that team is all that good. And then Alabama goes to Nashville and ekes out a win by 3 over Vanderbilt. Mark Sears with 21 points and 3 steals in that game. As I look at teams that I think LSU really stands on pretty even playing ground with, like LSU is going to have a hard time with Kentucky. You're going to have a hard time with Tennessee. I think those teams are significantly better than LSU. But I think LSU can absolutely play with Vanderbilt tomorrow. I think they can absolutely play with Missouri and Georgia. I think they can absolutely play with Mississippi State. Arkansas as well, even though going to Bud Walton is really tough. There are some teams that are underachieving to this point and some teams that I think LSU can handle. And as we look at this LSU team, okay, what's acceptable? And I don't have a perfect grip on the league. But I've seen almost everybody play. I don't know if I've watched. I think I've watched everybody play. And certainly one game here or there is not going to tell the entire story. But what's an acceptable number for LSU to get to? I would say if they got to 6 or 7 SEC wins, I would think that was pretty good. If they win 3 or 4, that's unacceptable, especially after getting one win. If they win 8 or 9, I'll think that's overachieving, and that's really impressive. As I look at LSU right now, that's kind of where the window is. Win 3, 4 games, that's a failure. Win 5, 6, 7 games, I think that's about average. Win 8, 9, 10 games, you've outperformed your talent level, in my opinion. I reserve my right to change my opinion as I watch the SEC and watch LSU twice a week moving forward. But that's kind of where I think the barometer is right now. And trust me, I don't like having that conversation. This is a school that contends for national championships in most of the sports on campus. Football certainly does. Baseball certainly does. Women's basketball certainly does. Gym certainly does. Softball under Beth Torina's made the Women's College World Series a couple of times. Women's golf's got the number 1 player in the country. Men's golf's won a national championship recently. That's out there in just about every sport. And in men's basketball right now, we're not having those conversations. And that's a bummer, but that's just the reality of the situation. So for me, it's just okay, well, how do I frame this over the next couple of months with LSU? And that's how I would. My projection here, I think 5 or 6 is probably where they are, and that'd be about where the talent level is. I'm hopeful they can do a little better, and they surprised me on Saturday, which I loved. Really need to win tomorrow against Vanderbilt. I'll give my full preview on tomorrow's show. Really need to win that game. Because that's on your home floor against a team that I think you're better than. And look, while Vanderbilt did put up a fight against Alabama in Nashville over the weekend, they're 5-9. This is a Vanderbilt team with losses to Presbyterian, San Francisco, Western Carolina. That's where this program is under Jerry Stackhouse. LSU really needs to win that one. At that point, you're 2-0, and you get into a little bit more difficult spot. But we'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm excited tomorrow. Hopefully they can win a game at home. All right, we got one more segment to go. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. It's Natty Day. We'll preview Michigan and Washington and the latest on the LSU defensive staff coaching search. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, copying needs, Gulf Coast Products has you. Person-to-person sales, service after the sale. I got Trey Beal. Awesome. Had a great lunch with him today, and he gave me this cool tumbler with Gulf Coast Office Products on it right there. So shout out to Trey. Appreciate him for being part of our Monday shows. National Championship game is tonight. Kickoff just after 6:30. You want to listen to it? You're in luck, because you can do that right here on 1045ESPN.com. We'll have all 4 quarters of action for you on our airwaves, and we'll, of course, be reacting to it tomorrow. Big show tomorrow. We'll react to the game, get you ready for LSU and Vanderbilt on the hardwood. We'll have Glenn West of Go 24/7 talking some basketball, and then Sharif Ishak from WDSU talking Saints and Pels as well. So always enjoy our Tuesday shows. Looking very much forward to that. I'll be out actually tomorrow night at the big event that Ronnie Rance has going on with the Baseball Champions Dinner at LeBare's. Got a lot of baseball dignitaries will be there. Jay Johnson, Paul Maneri will be there. We'll have Roger Clemens there as well. I think a lot of former LSU Tigers will be there. Guy Ryan Terrio will be there. And I'll be working the red carpet, I'm told. I'm not sure I'm qualified to do that, but that's what my job assignment has been labeled. So that's what we're gonna try to do. But excited to get out there to LeBare's tomorrow. If you want to come hang out and see it, tickets still available over there at LeBare's. So let's crank things up here one more time. This show, we'll do some take it or leave it. Let's do it back.
All right, first one here. The internet is buzzing that a new EA Sports and NCAA football game will be announced tonight. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I played a lot of NCAA football. A lot of NCAA football. Talking about dynasty mode, just program building, recruiting, the whole lot. Starting out as the offensive coordinator at Temple and trying to work your way up to the top of the ladder. Yeah, I've played it a lot, and I don't have any interest in like Madden or any of the racing games or Grand Theft Auto or anything. It was all NCAA football for me, and when it went away, that was a bummer. And I was super bummed at who's the guy that made that happen? The UCLA basketball player,
Ed O'Bannon.
Ed O'Bannon. Yeah, I was cranky with him for pulling it off the shelves. It appears they've got it all worked out, and I don't know this. Nobody knows this, but the hints have been being dropped via the internet and whatnot that we could have a reveal. I don't know that it's going to cause me to go out and get a system and go play the game. I think my wife would have a significant issue with that. But Myers Man's 2, I don't know when kids start playing video games these days. I'm thinking 5-ish, 6-ish.
Probably at least 5
I think
or
I
6.
can get back into the action there if I can pin it on quality time
with
the kiddo.
Of course.
So my mom used to play Donkey Kong with me some. Minecart Carnage, what a level. But yeah, I don't know that I'll jump in immediately, but in time, if that game is available, I think I could get back into it because I really enjoyed my time playing EA Sports NCAA football. So I'll take it.
Warriors forward Draymond Green said on his podcast that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver convinced him not to retire while Green was in the midst of his indefinite suspension. You believe this? Also, just a note, Green is in the first year of his 4-year, $100 million contract, and I think retiring would void that. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'm going to leave it. How old is Draymond Green?
Like 20.
I would think he's in his 30s.
Maybe 30, 32, something like that.
I'm looking it up. He's 33.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's about to retire. I mean, you're talking about $25 million a year. Look, Draymond, it's not that hard, man. It's just not. Quit choking people and stomping on people and kicking people. Just chill out for 2 seconds. This has been maybe the most recurring non-South Louisiana sports story that I continue to return to is Draymond Green and how little I understand of what he's doing on a basketball court. It never made sense to me that the entire Warriors organization depended on him to be a grade A jerk every second he's on the court, no matter what. I feel like they can probably win some games if he's not yelling and screaming at people and choking people out. I've never got on that level, and I've heard him in different interviews and press conferences say we've won 4 championships doing it this way. I'm never going to change that. It's and then all of a sudden, you tell me that you're going to retire, and I just don't get any of it.
Yeah, I think maybe having Kevin Durant probably helped a little bit there.
A little bit.
Won a few,
having the greatest shooter in the history of the world, that probably helps. And another one that's pretty good. And Draymond Green's really good. I just don't think he needs to be in the zone and a total jerk the whole time he's out there on the floor.
Yeah, I don't think he does either.
You don't have to be best buds with everybody out there. Like, I know that drives some of the old school guys crazy, that everybody's buddy and going to work out together and on trips together and all that kind of stuff. But, I don't, whatever. Draymond.
Tiger Woods and Nike have ended their 27-year relationship, and Woods, in a statement today, did not indicate what his next plans are. Woods will be wearing 3 stripes at the Genesis next month. Take it or leave it.
Adidas?
That's right.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, for them, it would be extremely smart move, I feel like, because, Nike and Adidas seem to always be like, the main
I didn't
competitors.
even know
of each
Adidas
other.
was like still around. But I mean, their main guys were Dustin Johnson and Sergio, who were gone.
Well, yeah, they got Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, Xander as well.
A few other guys, but.
So maybe they got a few bucks to spend. What does Tiger command on the open market these days? Like, I don't know. We know what he was 15 years ago, and he's still the biggest name in the sport, even not playing very much. But he's going to play 5 times a year?
Supposedly, that's what he says.
I'm curious what that means. But he's been he created. Nike didn't even have golf, and all of a sudden he created that, and they've branched off to Finau and Rory McIlroy, of course, and Brooks Koepka's Nike guy Jason Day was, and those guys are starting to leave one by one. So I guess Nike Golf's kind of shutting things down. Sure, I'll say Adidas. There are a lot of different ways you can go. You don't have to do like a golf brand. You could do anything. You can KPMG can throw a logo up there. So I'm not sure, but we'll see. I'm curious to see what. I'm assuming we'll see Tiger Woods at Riv. We'll see.
Last one here. You'd rather be trapped in a decorative urn than go swimming in a Bass Pro Shops aquarium naked. Take it or leave it.
Well, you can't get arrested for getting in an urn.
I don't think so.
And of course, I had not seen these 2 stories until you brought them to my attention. So if you're driving around thinking this is the stupidest question you've ever heard, being stuck inside an urn or swimming naked in a Bass Pro Shops, these 2 things actually happened over the weekend.
They did.
The guy that got in the urn, I just watched that video. He's from the South. I can hear it in his accent.
Yes.
So I don't know where that was.
I think it was Alabama.
Okay, great. Roll Tide. Look, that's a weird thing to do, and that would be very uncomfortable. I'm not sure what he kind of felt like and how long he had to be in there before they broke it up.
He was there for a while.
Yeah, but he was a little panicked and a little upset. The Bass Pro Shops guy, that's a mental deal. You're either on a lot of drugs or have some significant issues. Like I was driving on Government Street the other day, and somebody just basically walked out in front of my car very leisurely and just zoned out. And like that person there's something not clicking there. And that's what it feels like if you're going to get nude and go swimming in a Bass Pro Shop. Now, are there what's in these aquariums?
They have like fish in there. I don't know. I don't think there's
bass.
Yeah, I think there's bass, and I
don't
don't
have
know,
like a hammerhead.
I don't think there's any sharks or anything. I don't think there's any alligators in there. But
you can get arrested for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did get arrested for that. I mean,
Yes.
that's not what you're looking to do. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get stuck in the urn, as uncomfortable as that is, because I just don't really need to be, on the registered offenders list for being in the Bass Pro Shop. So I got to go knock on people's doors and hand out flyers and stuff. So let's avoid that, and let's go with the urn. Although that's a really stupid thing to do as well. All right, that's it for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Beck, you got a national championship game pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Washington, man. Everyone, the whole way, they've been doubting Washington. I think Michigan, I don't know if they're still, but I saw they were 4.5-point favorites,
Yep,
I think, last time I checked, which I just am very surprised by. And so I'm going Washington, man. They keep proving everyone wrong.
They do, and they win close games, and they got a great quarterback. I feel like I gave TCU too much credit last year and got burned on that. I don't think I picked them to win, but I thought that they would keep it close. They did
But this
not.
is not TCU.
It is not.
Washington's definitely not.
No, but Michigan's good, and I think they're going to run it on them. I think it'll be close, and I think that we'll go to the fourth quarter with a lot of drama. But I just think it's Michigan's time. I think they're going to get it done, and I think, like I said in the first segment, like the first hour, I just think that they're going to win this. Harbaugh is going to change things up, and you're going to have a pretty chaotic little coaching carousel thing. If we take Brian Kelly completely out of it, I don't know where Michigan turns for its next head coach. That's a very, very interesting thought, because it's not like there are a lot of obvious names. You've seen Texas A&M make their hire. Who else was in the coaching carousel this year? Kind of a quiet year in terms of the big names. So I'm not sure what happens up there in Ann Arbor, but we shall see. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on a Monday. Started the show today talking about the Saints and their season-ending win against Atlanta, where they go from here. If you missed that, you can catch it on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. That's our Saints channel Always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find that as well. LSU beat Texas A&M in basketball on Saturday. That made me very happy. I talked about it at 1:15. Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime, with us every single Monday. Chatted about the college football national championship game with him. Bryce Underwood is an LSU Tiger commitment. The end of hour number 1, I kind of laid that out. That'll be on our YouTube channel for LSU, Hunt on LSU. College football title game and Blake Baker talk in hour number 2. Catch all that on demand. Hope y'all are staying safe out there. Nasty weather day in South Louisiana. Matt's about to drive you home. See you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer